strained with all her might, yet even her formidable physique couldn't break free from this restraint. Her body remained utterly immobilized. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes, gazing toward the museum's entrance. Amidst the surging tide of ghosts, he glimpsed a path gradually opening before him. The spirits respectfully parted to form a corridor, as if welcoming the arrival of some esteemed figure. In the pitch-black, gloomy hall, ghostly wails echoed as mist shrouded everything. Zhang Yi heard the sound of wooden clogs approaching, tap, tap, tap. Using his combat suit's night vision, he finally made out the figure approaching. It was a short, elderly man dressed in an ornate kimono, his feet clad in high wooden clogs. A small sword with an exquisitely crafted scabbard was tucked at his waist. But what drew the most attention was his disproportionately large head. Slit Ghost. From the shadows, Yang Xinxin immediately provided Zhang Yi with the identification. "Brother, this is the king of the 100, Demon Night Parade, the Lord of Spirits and Demons. It should be the most formidable foe in the entire procession." Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes. "Looks like this is the one controlling our bodies, rendering us immobile." The moment the words left his mouth, everyone's bodies snapped free from their immobilized state. The duration? Roughly 3 seconds. But holding down a black chariot-level mutant for 3 seconds was an utterly terrifying feat. A bad feeling settled in Zhang Yi's heart. Because the gathering horde of ghosts and monsters around them was growing ever larger. "Move out." His words hadn't even faded when 2 more figures materialized from the thick fog beside the Slit Ghost. One was a towering humanoid specter with white wings and a long snout. The other was a frail youth clad in white onmyoji robes, approaching barefoot. Though their exact power level remained unknown, their ability to walk alongside the king of the 100 ghosts meant their strength was undeniably formidable. The current situation had already surpassed Zhang Yi's expectations. He had sensed terrifying entities among the 100 ghosts before. If it came to a true confrontation, he might not fear them. But right now, this group was fundamentally impossible to kill, rendering any fight utterly meaningless. Everyone scrambled frantically toward the dimensional gate. Just then, the short old man, barely over a meter tall, suddenly drew the famed sword from his waist. In the blink of an eye, he flashed before Zhang Yi's dimensional gate. Shoo! A sword slash sliced down from above, cleaving a long gash through Zhang Yi's dimensional gate. Indeed, it was cleaved, not shattered. He could distinctly feel the dimensional gate still existed, and both halves remained functional. Yet, it was undeniably split into 2 pieces. The sly imp didn't pause for a moment. Rolling twice in midair, he leaped toward Zhang Yi with a mischievous grin. His short sword aimed straight for Zhang Yi's head. This bizarre ability left Zhang Yi utterly unable to open the dimensional gate to send others away. He had no choice but to confront the enemy first. Sword in the tree. The bracelet on his right hand instantly transformed into a massive plant sword. With a boom, it split into hundreds of vine spikes, lashing viciously toward the Slit Ghost. But the Slit Ghost's dwarf-like body was too agile. Dodging the barrage of spikes, it swung its sword down. The sword's light flashed in the darkness. The severed plant spikes didn't die, instead, they all twisted into crooked, limp vines, dropping lifeless to the ground. Most terrifyingly, after each slash, the damage spread toward the source of the sword in the tree. Zhang Yi didn't hesitate. He immediately severed the vines and summoned new ones to attack the Slit Ghost again. Its movements were too agile, its figure was nearly impossible to lock onto. But within Zhang Yi's close-range attack zone, it only took an instant. Divine Realm Netherworld Cleansing. The instant cast ability locked onto the Slit Ghost's position. Its body stiffened, and its already diminutive form was instantly compressed by the overwhelming force, shrinking into a tiny ball. Zhang Yi charged forward, delivering a brutal kick that sent it flying. This thing was fundamentally indestructible, there was no point wasting time here. But while the Slit Ghost was temporarily dealt with, the other demons weren't idle either. The Great Tengu, with its long red snout, glared ferociously at Zhang Yi as a staff slowly materialized in its hand. Clang! pointing the staff at Zhang Yi and his companions with a simple gesture. A terrifying storm instantly erupted, sweeping out from its center. Boom! The entire Daliandu Museum shook violently. Floors were torn up, and even the large demons couldn't withstand the intense wind pressure, getting swept up and hurled toward Zhang Yi and his companions. Everything under heaven remained steadfast, blocking these assaults. Meanwhile, the young Onmyoji on the other side transformed in an instant, shattering the museum's ceiling. He had become a colossal white dog, dozens of meters tall and hundreds of meters long. A string of Magatama pendants, burning with blue flames, hung around its neck. 3 Epsilon. Zhang Yi gritted his teeth, feeling a headache coming on. From the distance, a strange chuckle echoed. The slit ghost he'd kicked away bounced back like a ball, landing directly atop the Inugami's head. It sat cross-legged, gazing down at Zhang Yi and the others with a mocking expression. If this keeps up, we're in deep trouble. All this commotion will definitely alert the Royal Demon Court. If they strike now, we won't stand a chance of escaping. Bai Li Changqing warned Zhang Yi. Is it that hard? Zhang Yi glanced at him. I'll handle those 3. The rest of the demons? You lot shouldn't have trouble dealing with them. Cut a new path through them, I'll lead you out. Without further ado, Zhang Yi teleported instantly toward the slit ghost, Great Tengu, and Inugami. These 3 were indeed troublesome. But Zhang Yi sensed he could handle them. After all, his black charioteer power and the title Absolute Defense weren't for show. The commotion at the Daliandu Museum was indeed too loud. Ever since the 100 Demon Night Parade began, Edo Castle's nights had remained unusually quiet. Today, however, the commotion here had caught the attention of the entire Royal Demon Court. Members lurking in the night had to tread carefully daily to avoid these malevolent spirits. Thus, the moment unrest erupted here, they emerged en masse, observing everything unfold from a safe distance. A mutant. An unfamiliar face. Epsilon, an Asian. Judging by their appearance, they're most likely from Washu Kingdom. Report this immediately to the master. A large number of Royal Demon Court members gathered within Edo City, yet none dared to approach. Their fear wasn't directed at Zhang Yi and his group, they dreaded provoking the 100 Demon Night Parade. These immortal monsters, no one knew their origin. Even the Royal Demon Court's officers avoided nighttime outings whenever possible. News of suspected Epsilon from Washu Kingdom arriving in Edo quickly reached Mount Fudo. Mount Fudo, situated north of Edo City, stands as Neon's most iconic landmark. It also houses the Royal Demon Court's headquarters, the Heavenly Guardian Palace. The ruler of the Royal Demon Court, the Evil Demon, resides within the Heavenly Guardian Palace, the foremost shrine of Neon's Shinto faith. Mount Fudo, Heavenly Guardian Palace. A scrawny, yellow-haired punk sat cross-legged in the shrine, eyes fixed on the massive display before him. His fingers flicked rapidly across the game controller, the screen showing the classic Neon game Dragon Quest. The click-clack of high heels echoed from behind. The evil demon pressed pause, glancing back nonchalantly. Purgatory Star, an officer of the Royal Demon Court, halted several meters behind him and respectfully knelt on one knee. Imperial Majesty. Suspected traces of an Epsilon-level mutant from Washu Kingdom have been detected within the city. At these words, a distinct gleam lit up in the evil demon's eyes. An Epsilon from Washu Kingdom? The very nation that gave birth to Romance of the Three Kingdoms? Their people have actually come to Edo? Ha ha, this is simply too amusing. As a youth of the Western Harmony era, the evil demon held a deep fascination for the culture of the Washu Kingdom, particularly the Three Kingdoms era. One of his dreams was to emulate Toyotomi Hideyoshi, leading a great army to conquer the Central Plains. But it's night now. They've likely been tangled up with those ghosts and monsters, haven't they? The evil demon asked casually. Purgatory Star nodded. Indeed. They appeared at the Daliandu Museum, seemingly searching for something. Oh? Is that so? The evil demon spoke indifferently, his gaze drifting toward a corner of the wooden floor. The room was cluttered with various items. Action figures, plushies, holy grails, and precious treasures looted from Edo. Amidst the clutter, a golden dragon specimen encased in a crystal box could faintly be seen. How could I leave something that valuable out in the open? Purgatory Star looked up and asked, but we must counter the outsiders' invasion of Edo. The evil demon curled his lips. Let's see how they fare against the 100 Demon Night Parade first. Maybe they'll die before we even need to lift a finger. Or, he rubbed his chin, even if they have some skill, battling those spirits will leave them utterly exhausted. We'll strike then. After all, those ghostly things can't tell friend from foe. The National Museum de Liangdu was destroyed beyond recognition in an instant. Edo's 100 Demon Night Parade showed no mercy for human architecture. Zhang Yi soared skyward, turning to gaze at the three great ghost kings amidst the night. Abruptly, heavy rain began to fall from the sky. Members of the royal demon court monitoring from afar quickly retreated at the sight, seemingly unwilling to get even a drop on themselves. Zhang Yi extended his palm, letting a few raindrops fall onto his hand. His combat suit analyzed the rainwater, detecting traces of supernatural energy. Skin contact would undoubtedly bring calamity. Fortunately, Zhang Yi wore the top-tier submarine dragon armor, rendering him unaffected. Yet in the rain-drenched night, a ghostly figure approached, umbrella held high above its head, a green lantern dangling from its hand. The next instant, a massive head suddenly hurtled toward him from below, a beautifully painted, deathly pale maiden's head, yet connected to a serpentine neck hundreds of meters long. Zhang Yi drew his gun, locked onto the maiden's head, and blasted it to smithereens mid-air. The long neck slumped limply, plummeting into the rain. The slit ghost sat cross-legged atop Inugami's head, emitting a cackle that sounded as if it came from the underworld. The great Tengu, eyes blazing with fury, raised his staff. Boom! A vast fissure tore open in the gloomy sky, white lightning slithering like silver serpents through the clouds. A furious gale swept in, carrying silver lightning as it descended from the heavens in a whirlwind, hurtling straight toward Zhang Yi's position. Facing the great Tengu's assault, Zhang Yi neither dodged nor retreated, merely lifting his head calmly. Everything under heaven manifested, forming layer upon layer of defense around him through the gate of 3,000 realms. Though invisible, this barrier possessed formidable defensive power. The lightning-laced tornado violently plunged into his dimensional space, silent and still, stirring not a ripple. Limited attack power, roughly around the 13,000-point level. Zhang Yi immediately delivered his assessment. In that case, without hesitation, he extended his right hand toward the three great ghost kings. The next instant, a lightning storm erupted from another dimensional gate, hurtling straight toward them. The great Tengu's expression abruptly changed. Caught off guard, he was instantly hurled backward. Inugami's four paws dug firmly into the ground. He opened his massive jaws toward Zhang Yi, the flaming Magatama on his neck blazing fiercely. A surging energy coalesced within his maw, then transformed into a torrential supernatural cannon fired toward Zhang Yi. The lightning storm collided with the energy cannon, and the bitterly cold tempest instantly obliterated Edo City within a 10-kilometer radius. The slit ghost finally fixed his gaze intently upon Zhang Yi. Rising from atop the Inugami, he leapt toward Zhang Yi, the famed demon-slaying sword Anakiri in hand. Then, mid-air, he slashed out with a single stroke. No flashy energy ripples accompanied the strike, yet as the blade cut through the air, the surrounding space visibly warped. Slit Ghost, the lord of spirits and demons in neon mythology, a mischievous fiend who reveled in pranks. Zhang Yi had already witnessed its power, an unstoppable cutting ability that left objects utterly unscathed. But what would happen if its body were struck? No one dared to gamble on that outcome. Still, Zhang Yi knew his dimensional gate seemed ineffective against this foe. He drew two white eagles, merged them, aimed at the slit ghost, and prepared to pull the trigger, his most devastating strike, Halberd of Doom. Only by temporarily clearing the three great ghost kings from the battlefield could he find time to lead Liang Yu and the others to safety. Yet the instant he moved to fire, that paralyzing sensation seized his body once more. The roly-poly has fallen. From that moment, no matter how fiercely Zhang Yi strained, his fingers couldn't budge the trigger an inch. His body froze rigid in place. The slit ghost leapt high into the air, soaring hundreds of meters like a flea to land before him. A mocking smile spread across the ancient ghost king's lips. His withered arm gripped the Anakiri, bringing it down with a vicious, head-splitting blow. The slit ghost's sword sliced straight through Zhang Yi's spatial gate, then slashed toward his physical form. Yet even while the sword remained far from Zhang Yi, his eyes suddenly flashed with blinding white light. The space centered around the slit ghost abruptly collapsed inward. Pfft! The little old man's body was violently hurled from all directions toward the center by immense force, contorting into a sphere the size of a basketball. Though Zhang Yi's body remained immobilized, the conditions for activating the Divine Realm Netherworld cleansing required him to sense all entities within a 3-kilometer radius around him. Seeing this, Inugami gathered immense supernatural energy in its mouth once more, finally transforming it into a burning, pitch-black megatama that shot toward Zhang Yi. But this force stirred not a ripple, instantly swallowed by Zhang Yi's dimensional space without so much as a splash. 3 seconds passed, and the sensation of being forcibly restrained vanished instantly. Without hesitation, Zhang Yi aimed the halberd of doom directly at the slit ghost. Boom! A colossal war spear materialized from the void, crashing violently into the huddled little old man. It hurled him straight toward the distant, dark expanse of the sky. In the blink of an eye, the slit ghost vanished from sight. As for Inugami, just as it prepared to attack Zhang Yi again, a sudden, terrifying, urgent roar erupted from behind it. Flower spread his wings, leaped onto its back, and sank his teeth in with a vicious bite. Though Flower's body was only 1/3 the size of the Inugami, this strike tore a massive gash across its neck. The Inugami's attention was entirely focused on Zhang Yi. Caught off guard by Flower's sneak attack, it let out a wretched howl of agony. Without hesitation, Zhang Yi activated his space shuffle. His right-hand sword in the tree condensed into a colossal blade over 10 meters long, coiled with the power of the void. With a single swing, it severed the Inugami's head clean off. The 3 great ghost kings were finally dealt with. But Zhang Yi knew these undead creatures would soon revive. Hurry! Don't linger here! Meanwhile, Lian Yu, Baili Changqing, and the others were surrounded by a swarm of ghosts. As night deepened, more and more specters appeared around the Daliandu Museum. Looking out, demons and monsters filled every corner of Edo City. They surrounded Lian Yu and the others, launching a frenzied assault. Even the formidable members of the investigation team found themselves in dire straits against these creatures, which quickly resurrected after being slain. Roar! A powerful beam of energy shot forth, instantly obliterating all the demons before Deng Shintong and his companions. Flower and Zhang Yi appeared here. The dimensional gate opened without further ado. The operation has failed. Retreat. Though Deng Shintong's face still bore a look of reluctance, continuing the fight now was clearly irrational. They had already noticed an increasing number of mysterious figures appearing in Edo Castle, members of the Royal Demon Court. Those bastards were waiting for them to be slaughtered by the 100 Demon Night Parade, or for their strength to be exhausted before delivering the finishing blow. Deng Shintong gritted his teeth. Let's go! Zhang Yi raised his hand, unleashing the Divine Realm Netherworld cleansing to clear the area, instantly eliminating all demons within a 3-kilometer radius. Everyone entered the dimensional gate. Amidst the distant night sky, that ancient, mocking laughter echoed once more. Zhang Yi frowned, entering the dimensional gate last. Though a single space shuffle could cover 4,000 meters, they still couldn't escape the 100 Demon Night Parade's encirclement. But now, Zhang Yi had a basic grasp of these creatures' power. The slit ghost possessed peculiar, hard-to-pin-down abilities, but it definitely lagged behind Zhang Yi in power. As for the Great Tengu and Inugami, they were merely low-tier white chariot-level entities. Even combined, the 3 couldn't inflict substantial damage on Zhang Yi. However, they still needed to defend against the Royal Demon Court's mutant, so a swift retreat was imperative. After the first space shuffle concluded, the slick ghost swiftly detected their location. For 1,000 meters was no great distance for him, he would catch up in no time. The Daruma doll's chant echoed once more in Zhang Yi and his companion's ears. This time, however, Zhang Yi was mentally prepared. He utilized everything under heaven to shield himself and his group from demonic attacks. Silently counting down the seconds in his mind, he awaited the arrival of the Demon Kings. 3 seconds passed. The control lifted. The 3 great Demon Kings had arrived. The Great Tengu and the Inagami soared through the air. The slick ghost, wielding his short sword Anakiri, grinned as he prepared to leap down. Zhang Yi raised his right hand, interlacing his middle and index fingers, pointing them toward the direction of the demons. Light twisted within his eyes, a white radiance igniting. Centered on him, a colossal storm of supernatural energy surged outward. Even without Zhang Yi deliberately unleashing this force, the sheer pressure generated by his concentrated power alone forced Deng Shintong and the others to stumble back several steps, unable to approach his vicinity. Divine Realm Netherworld Cleansing. This strike, channeling all of Zhang Yi's power, was his most devastating attack. His fingers snapped back. The space where the 3 great ghost kings stood shattered like a broken mirror, violently warping inward. It was as if an invisible giant hand had seized them, clenching them tightly before crushing them down toward the center. Snap! The great Tengu's bones shattered violently, fragments piercing through flesh as blood spattered wildly. The colossal Inagami was reduced to a pulpy mass of dogmeat, engulfing the slick ghost entirely. Such terrifying power left the royal demon court members watching from afar utterly speechless. Wichiro Maeda, the royal demon court officer and leader of the sword division, stared wide-eyed, oblivious to the cigarette that fell from his mouth to the ground. What kind of monsters are these outsiders? A single strike wiped out 3 of the 100 demon kings. After that strike, the power within Zhang Yi experienced a momentary void. He reopened the dimensional gate. Let's go! Deng Shintong and the others snapped out of their daze at Zhang Yi's voice. The scene they'd just witnessed had left them equally speechless. They knew Zhang Yi had become an epsilon-level extraordinary being, possessing immense strength. But just how powerful? They'd never truly grasped the full extent. Until this moment. Standing before Zhang Yi, they felt as if facing an ancient deity. Compared to him, they felt as insignificant as insects. Zhang Yi eliminated 3 demon kings with a single strike, creating an opening for their retreat. The group fled through the dimensional gate, quickly leaving the eerie city behind. Members of the royal demon court watched in stunned silence. They realized the mutants who had come to Edo possessed terrifyingly formidable power. Oh, I almost forgot something. Before departing, Zhang Yi remembered one final task. He casually severed the head of one of the seedlings. He needed to confirm whether these creatures, killed at night, could also resurrect the following day. Only after completing this did they vanish entirely from Edo City. Zhang Yi made no delay, departing directly from Neon, heading back toward Tianhai City. The Royal Demon Court had already been alerted, and he had to consider the movements of the Columbia Navy. This place was no longer safe to linger in. Traveling between 2 countries in a mere 10 minutes was something only Zhang Yi could accomplish. They returned to Tianhai City, back to that familiar, warm, and comfortable house. Outside, blizzards raged. Inside, the room was brightly lit. Zhang Yi appeared in the living room and instructed Mu Yan to release the others. Deng Shintong and Bai Chunyu stood behind Zhang Yi, cautiously watching his back like students who had done something wrong. Zhang Yi shot them a cold glance as he removed his armor. Don't you owe me an explanation for this? Fatty Su, arms crossed, glared at Deng Shintong and Bai Chunyu with the arrogance of a lapdog. Exactly. You dragged us to that godforsaken place, then kept secrets from the boss? That's outrageous. Zhang Yi and the others sat on the sofa, setting up a 3-way interrogation. As for Bai Li Changqing and Wu Di, they knew nothing about this matter. After all, they weren't exactly Deng Shintong's confidants. Thus, they stood awkwardly to the side, silent. Deng Shintong raised his hands. I admit this was my mistake. But Zhang Yi, I hope you can believe I never intended to harm you. Zhang Yi raised an eyebrow, his gaze tinged with mockery. Even if you wanted to harm me, you'd need the capability to do so. Even a captain-level mutant with an ability index of 9,900 couldn't fathom what a black chariot with a staggering 20,000-point index truly represented. The gap was so immense it defied common sense. Explain carefully, why did you seek out that dragon specimen? What purpose does it serve? Zhang Yi paused, his gaze deepening as he continued. Also, that original manuscript of Wang Shuren's Heart Sutra you mentioned, is it actually useful? The previous matter had annoyed Zhang Yi, but if it was explained clearly, he could forgive it. However, if the latter turned out to be a lie, Zhang Yi would not let it go easily. Deng Shintong replied, rest assured, I'm not so despicable as to deceive you with such matters. The Heart Sutra is genuine. In truth, Deng's technology has never ceased its research into anomalous events throughout history and across cultures. Wang Shuren's Dragon Field Enlightenment represents one of the most recent manifestations of mutant individuals. The fragment I gave you is also authentic. Therefore, obtaining it could indeed clarify your path to enhancing your supernatural abilities. The Great Mutation era had only arrived 3 years prior. Before that, humanity's understanding of the mutant was extremely limited. Even now, the vast majority of mutant individuals had only 3 methods to enhance their power. First, personal enlightenment, finding ways to unlock the upper limits of one's abilities. This method was highly unpredictable, as enlightenment was an elusive, fleeting opportunity beyond individual control. Second, injecting drugs, like those used by people such as Cardalus, though the risks are extremely high. After all, the supernatural enhancing drugs developed by humans only emerged in recent years, and their side effects are significant. Third, devouring the origin of other mutants or obtaining external energies like the spirit of sacrifice. Combat carries the risk of death, and the more powerful the mutant, the fewer potential prey they can target. Opportunities to acquire external entities like the spirit of sacrifice are even rarer. All 3 paths are exceptionally difficult to traverse. Naturally, some would seek a formulaic approach, a systematic method to enhance a mutant's power. Zhang Yi nodded. It's best if this is true. Otherwise, the consequences. No one could bear them. Zhang Yi spoke lightly, his tone devoid of any anger. But Deng Shintong knew this was an extremely stern warning. After all, for Zhang Yi, annihilating the Deng family was merely a matter of raising a hand. Then what about that dragon specimen? Deng Shintong opened his tactical backpack, retrieved the specimen, and upon opening the box, confirmed it was indeed fake. Disappointment was evident in his eyes. I truly underestimated the Neon people. Their research into Huashu culture is no less thorough than ours, and they too have long recognized the importance of ancient relics. Deng Shintong looked up at Zhang Yi. I mentioned a girl named Amber to you before. She possesses a unique ability to help mutant unlock their potential. My own power advancement to this level was achieved with her assistance. And the source of her ability stems from her exposure to that dragon specimen at the Daliandu Museum. Zhang Yi's eyes slowly brightened. So you believe that obtaining the dragon specimen could grant you a greater breakthrough? Perhaps even shatter the threshold of Epsilon? Deng Shintong replied, I cannot be certain, but at this point, I must try. He looked at Zhang Yi, his gaze filled with envy, yet a bitter smile touched his lips. You've made me realize that in this era, all mutants below Epsilon are mere ants. That's why I aspire to be like you. Zhang Yi rubbed his fingers together, his gaze fixed on Deng Shintong as he asked, where is that girl named Amber? Deng Shintong shook his head. I understand what you mean. But she isn't an unlimited-use evolution catalyst. Otherwise, such a powerful mutant would have already established a formidable mutant force long ago. Her ability can only be used on specific targets. Moreover, the necessary trigger conditions are extremely demanding. He explained the ability characteristics of her ability, in the name of love, to Zhang Yi. After hearing this, Zhang Yi immediately lost interest. He wasn't pursuing this for himself anyway. Having undergone multiple baptisms, he was now a top-tier mutant at the level of a black chariot. A mere mutant like Amber couldn't possibly enhance his abilities further. He only hoped to help his companions. But without Amber's abilities, Zhang Yi could achieve that goal through sheer resource investment. But that dragon specimen you mentioned? That actually piques my interest. Zhang Yi folded his arms beneath his chin, his gaze growing profound. Mythical creatures might truly exist. And could they be connected to the mysterious tribe dwelling beneath the Qinling Mountain?